Happy Friday! Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of zeroing in on one chapter, we're actually going to talk about 9 chapters all together. So recapping where we've been over the last 2 weeks, because John is doing something that is actually pretty incredible and like literary genius that I think is worth calling attention to. But in order to see what John is doing, we have to have a little background in the culture of the Greco-Roman world. The Olympics are coming up this summer in Paris. It's the Summer Olympics. It's so much fun. It's like the world kind of slows down for a minute and all our eyes focus on these incredible athletes as they compete for the pride of their nations. This is a tradition going back thousands of years, first to ancient Greece, and the Romans picked it up. The Olympics are like a tried and true, just treasured part of our culture as human beings. Here's the difference though. Whereas we compete, I compete, you know what I mean. Whereas the Olympics who compete today in the modern world, they kind of get the credit, right? If Michael Phelps wins all his gold medals, we don't say, oh, wow, the USA is really amazing. We say Michael Phelps dominated in swimming. He is so talented and amazing and wow. In the ancient world, that's not actually the case. For starters, in the ancient world, athletes who competed in the Olympic Games didn't represent their nation or their country or even their city. They represented the patron gods of their city. So in Ephesus, one of the patron gods was Artemis. If you were an athlete competing in the games on behalf of Ephesus, you were really competing for the glory and honor of the goddess Artemis. And if you did well, it wouldn't be said that you did well. It's actually said that Artemis did really well. And so that's a little bit of a difference. That'll mean something more here in just a minute. The Olympic Games, similar to what they do today, had a very uniform structure from year to year in how they went about kind of introducing and starting the games. So first, there would be the presentation of the emperor to great fanfare. Then there would be an announcement by a herald of the emperor's mighty deeds, going on and on about all the great things that the emperor has done. And then the emperor would make a series of pronouncements to some of the cities in the Roman Empire, to which he would say, I've heard about you. You've done this really well. Keep going. But I have this against you. Okay, so if you don't change it, here's what I need you to do. And if you don't, well, here's what's going to happen to you. Then the 24 priests of the 24 Roman religions, like the state religions, so to speak, of which Christianity and Judaism were not included. There were 24 official religions of Rome. 24 priests, each representing one of them, would get up and sing this imperial song to the emperor, praising and worshiping the emperor. Then another herald would come and lift up the emperor, calling him things like King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Some of you are probably starting to see where this is going. Then the first event of the Olympics in the Greco-Roman world would always be a chariot race. And in this chariot race, there would always be 4 horsemen: a red, a white, a black, and a pale, or sometimes called spotted, horse. It's always the first event that took place. And then only after the chariot race would the trumpets blow and the games officially begin. Do you notice something in this structure? John is not ignorant of this structure. In fact, he is going to make this structure work for him. He structures the first 9 chapters of Revelation to be almost an exact parallel of these events that kick off the Olympic Games. I mean, just think about it. In chapter 1, you have the presentation of the one true God. Also in chapter 1, we're going to hear about all of God's mighty works through the generations. And then Jesus sends his letters to the 7 churches in chapters 2 and 3 using almost the exact same format, encouraging them, offering challenges, and telling them, here's what you need to do. Here's what needs to happen, and offering them a warning if they fail to do what he's asking them to do. Then we go to chapter 4, where we find ourselves in the throne room of God, and the 24 elders and creatures are singing these hymns to God about how worthy he is and worthy to be praised. And then again, we have the Lamb lifted up in chapter 5, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the one who is worthy. And then, of course, the famous 4 horsemen, the same colors of the horses that we saw in the Roman Empire. Don't think that's by accident. And finally, chapters 8 and 9, which we read at the end of this week, are the 7 trumpets that blow, officially signaling the games. Okay, this is like too much of a coincidence to be accidental. So what is John trying to say? He's telling his readers and us today that just like the athletes of the games were running a race, we too are running a race. All of us are in this great race, and it really matters how we run the race, because we're not representing just ourselves. We're actually running to bring glory and honor to our God. And the way that we run, the way we live our lives, is actually what is going to show the world who the God we serve really is. We are God's representatives. And at times, John is going to make the case that it may seem like the enemy, the competition, so to speak, is winning the race, but don't be fooled. There's no doubt who will ultimately be victorious in these games. So in the same breath, in these same 9 chapters, John is saying, don't lose sight of the race that you are running. Run your race. The way that you live really matters. And don't be tempted to think that this empire, this Rome, this beast is going to win. The victory belongs to God and God alone. So I just offer that to you this morning. What races are you running? What races is the world trying to get you to run? And what would it take this week? What would it look like to fix your eyes on the only race that truly matters? The way we live shows the world the God that we serve. What does that look like for you? Amen, friends. We'll see you next week.